Hi there, Stampers. It's Lisa with Queen Bee Creations, and I'm here with today's live. It is Thursday, the 28th of September, and I'm looking at the calendar because I'm actually pre-recording this because I'm on a cruise to Hawaii, and this day we are still at sea. We left Vancouver on Sunday, and we had 5 days at sea, and then we will start island hopping on Saturday. So I'm getting really excited, and I'm planning ahead so that you guys don't miss out on my live classes while I'm gone. We're making this adorable little gift box. I figured I'd do something 3D since I'm not able to do prize patrol while I'm gone. This is a good time to do something that would be kind of hard to mail, but you're still going to learn how to do it. It's a little box that would hold candies or a pack of gum, a gift card, any number of little things. And so let's get started. In keeping with my nautical theme, we're working with whale watching and the waves of inspiration. The waves of inspiration is from our annual catalog, and the whale watching is from the new mini catalog. For our box, we're going to need to get started with 2 pieces of cardstock. This one I did in Balmy Blue, and we're going to do our next box in Lost Lagoon. You need 2 pieces. This piece is 7.5 by 9, and this one is 5 1/8 by 9. We're going to do some scoring, actually quite a bit of scoring, and then we're going to stamp onto this piece that is 4 7/8 by 3 1/4. That's going to be this top piece, and then I brought in some of our Lost Lagoon ribbon to tie a bow around the front. So let's get started. I'm going to bring in the Simply Scored tool. I prefer this when I'm scoring things, especially when they're boxes, because with the scoring tool, things can be very exact. Whereas with the trimmer, sometimes I'm off a little bit. So we're going to start out by going and scoring on the long side. I guess it could be any side because we're going to do this on all 4. We're scoring at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2. And we're going to rotate and do this on all 4 sides. So just 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 2. And then with the short side across the top, we're also going to score at 2.5, but only down 2 blocks. And then 5, and again, only down 2 blocks. So on the score line right here, we're only going down to the second line. We're going to rotate it 180 degrees and do the same thing. 2.5 and 5. Then this piece right here, we're going to go on the long side with 9 across the top, and we're going to score at 2 1/4 and 3 3/4. I'm going to rotate and do the same thing over here. 2 1/4, 2 3/4. So this is going to be the top of our box. And then this piece is going to be the structure of our box. So of course, when making boxes, we want to make sure that we are burnishing all of our score lines because we want nice, sharp score lines, yeah. So I'm going to go around and do this on all 4 sides. And then we're going to start cutting some pieces away. Now, if you wanted to make a box, in any size whatsoever in this kind of shadow box style, it's really easy to do to figure out a pattern, because all you have to do is figure out the size of your actual item. So say there was something I wanted to put in the middle here that was a different size. Okay, see, I had this. Okay, this is 3/4 of an inch deep, roughly. So rather than 1/2 inches, we would go 3/4. But we would figure out how big of an opening we want for this piece, and then we would score, so we would map this out on our thing. Say, okay, this is the size I need my opening of my box to be. Then I'm going to come over 3/4 of an inch, because that's where the depth is going to come from. And then I'm going to need 3 of those. So I'm going to come over 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 3/4 of an inch. And so this, on all 4 directions, would be how big your piece of paper needs to be. And then everything else is pretty much the same, because all we're going to do is going to roll the sides, because we're making kind of pillars. You've seen us make pillar cards before. So we need those 4 sides to each piece, both directions. Okay, so you're just figuring out how deep that needs to be. And because this one is 1/2 of an inch, that's how we came up with all our measurements. Okay, now I had said this piece would be, 3/4 of an inch all the way around. It would make it a little bit thicker. It can be the 1/2 an inch, but we would have to alternate. We would have to say 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch. And that's going to just make it more confusing. And like I said, for right now, I'm just trying to keep things really simple. If you wanted to make a different size box. But let's get back to the size box we're working on. This finished box on the outside is going to be 5 1/8 by 3 1/2 by 1/2 an inch. And then inside, it's going to be the perfect size for a gift card, a pack of gum, candies, any number of things can fit inside. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm removing the score line both directions. I'm removing this score line and this score line and these 16 boxes in the middle. So I'm just trying to go right on the edge of our score line. So you can see it's kind of coming with it when I cut it off, rather than going down the middle. I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And then remember how we did that extra little 1/2 inch in increments for the edges? These 2 here. What I want to do is I want to start on this second score line. So not the one at the base, but up one. And I'm going to go from this corner to that score line. So just diagonally from the edge to this piece. And then we're going to cut this off. Okay, we're going to do that all the way around. So that one there, and then this one over here as well. All right. Everybody with me so far? This is what you're going to end up with. And of course, I will be doing a tutorial bundle if you really needed written directions and all of the diagrams and all that other stuff to go with it. Or you can become a customer and place an order with me, and then I'll send you that for free. Okay, for the sides, like I said, we want this to fold in and become this little pillar on the side. So I'm going to use tear and tape. I prefer to use tear and tape when I'm making boxes because it's good and strong. And then, like I said, I want it to butt up against that score line. So basically I can fold it flat to make it butt into there. But then it'll pop up and be our side. Okay, I'm going to do that on both sides. And then you'll see this is why we had to cut away the diagonal on this other side. Oh, it's not quite flush. Okay. There we go. So there's our pillar on the side. Okay, now we're going to do kind of the similar thing with this. And that's why this was cut down to fit into there. So that's why that had to be 1/2 inch smaller, because we're allowing for the 1/2 inch that these sides are. And then the diagonal was so that it would do that diagonal cut in the corner. And it just looks pretty. So it's just giving it a little bit of a style. Now, if you want it to really stick good there, we would suggest a glue dot or a little bit of liquid glue, but something that's going to go right in that corner. Come on. Having trouble seeing it because I'm not at the right angle. But you just want a little glue dot right in that triangle. And it has to be in the triangle to ensure that it's going to hit the paper. Okay, and then this piece, it's this here that's going to rotate over and touch the bottom here. I'm going to use liquid glue on this one just because I don't trust myself. But I'm very carefully positioning the sides so that it catches that glue dot, and then pushing this in so that it's going to hit that liquid glue that is right under here. Okay. Now, if you saw me have trouble with the glue dots and you're thinking, oh, that was a mess, we can also, like I said, do liquid glue. It just takes a little longer to dry. So you have to consider that it may wiggle a little bit while you're working with it, but that's okay. I'm just making sure that that's inside and then into the score line. And then hitting those corners the way I want it to for our mitered corner. And that's our box. So see what I mean about what I was saying about how we needed the size of our object, what's going to go in there. And then, of course, it needed the depth. So it's 1/2 inch in case you wanted to put gum or candies in there. And then it would hold the gift card. So now we need to do this wrap on the outside. So that's what this was for. So we've basically scored it for the 1/2 inch of the depth of the box. We left the distance between this score line and this one to be the width of our box, which was that 3.5. And that's just going to wrap around. So I kind of leave it loose and make sure that it's going to slide back and forth. Then I'm going to put my tear and tape. Again, I want it kind of secure, but I don't want it so tight that it's not going to open. So that's why I have the box in there as I'm creating the lid. And then I'm making sure that I am, flush right here and flush right here. So now it slides in and out. Now all we need to do is decorate the front. So that's where we get to bring in our stamps. And you can do this with any bundle whatsoever. I just happen to be doing our nautical theme because of my cruise. So I'm going to bring in our piece of cardstock. Again, this was 3 1/4 by 4 7/8. And then I chose to use the stamp for our wave in the background. And you'll notice it's got a little more depth to it. It's not just all one color. And I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to bring in some pretty colors. I have the basic gray for our little birds in the sky, but I'm using Balmy Blue, Lost Lagoon, and Pool Party, which are all very similar. And I'm going to start with our lightest color, and I'm going to ink up the entire stamp. And then I'm going to come in with sponge daubers, which I had right in my hand a minute ago. Sorry about that. I had moved them out of the way. So I have my little box of sponge daubers. And of course, there is this free digital download if you want to go download the little guide. This has all of our new colors, or you can purchase it already laminated. I'm just asking that you cover the cost of the ink, the lamination, and the postage. But I'm going to take Pool Party and Lost Lagoon. So it's going to be this one and this one. And I'm just going to add some additional ink in spots. So I'm not really being methodical about it. I'm just saying it's not the same all over. And I don't necessarily want round spots of things. I just want added color. So that was Pool Party. And we'll bring in some Lost Lagoon. I'm kind of following the swirl. I don't know. I'm just trying to be random. You know how bad I am at random. And then we're going to huff on it, which I know sounds weird. But the moisture from your breath is going to re-wet the ink. Then I'm going to turn it over and push it down onto my cardstock. And there we go. There's our pretty colors. Isn't that gorgeous? And you can see I kind of missed a little down here. It's just a little too much white for my liking down there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take Pool Party and the sponge dauber, and we're just going to sponge over that lightly. I'm just covering up the white. Because I've got my mix of colors, I might want to come in with a little mix of this as well. Right. So there we go. There is our pretty wave. And then I wanted the whale to jump out of the middle of it. And I could have him go that way. It looks a little odd. What I really wanted him to do was go the other direction. I want him popping that way. But my stamp's not built that way. So I need to make an adjustment. What I'm going to do is bring in our silicone mat. And we're going to reverse the image. And we're going to do that by stamping on the silicone. So let's bring in our basic black, our memento here. And then I'm going to stamp on the silicone. And I'm giving it a minute to make sure that it does indeed transfer. And then you can kind of see through it. Okay, so I'm going to hold it at just the right angle where I can see through just enough to know that I'm placing it coming out of the wave the way I want it to. There we go. Now that I've got it down, I think you can see how you can see through the silicone mat. And I just wanted to ensure that I had placed him where I wanted him to go. And I can peel this off. So how about that? Now I have the whale going in the right direction. Do you love it? Now we can add a few birds to the air. And our happy birthday, I think I'm going to do in Lost Lagoon. And the happy birthday is from the Waves of Inspiration stamp set, as well as the birds. And I thought, okay, I like that. That's pretty. I thought maybe it needed a little extra something on our whale. So I came in with some Wink Estella and just gave that a little bit of a shine. Because, orcas are very shiny. If you've ever seen one in person, they kind of have the texture of a dolphin. I don't know if you've seen one of those. But if you've been to SeaWorld or the Caribbean, you may have seen how dolphins have that kind of slick skin. Kind of almost rubbery. And it's shiny. So a little of that. And then I thought I would bring in the blending brush and give it a little bit of balmy blue, which is a great color for the sky. And do a little sponging. I'm going to start with some scrap paper under it because I always start off the paper before I swirl on. Because if it's going to give a harsh initial little jolt, I want it to be on the scrap paper, not on my project. Remember to go gently. You can always add more, but you can't take it off. So just work with it. On camera, I tend to try to go too fast, and sometimes I'll end up with little goofs. So be patient with it. It will take, adding ink several times. Again, I'm going around the outside of the ink pad because we most have a tendency to stamp in the middle, and that will push the ink out to the edges. So there we go. Now it's got some added blue in the sky back there. Now, if you wanted to, you could have chosen to mask off the whale or the wave if you wanted to. I didn't find it necessary. And then I wanted to add this little bow across the front. So I brought in the bow maker tool. My husband makes these. They are awesome. People started asking for them, so I did add it to my tutorial shop. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around the two sticks, and then I'm going to make, I call it a cancer ribbon. I don't know what else to say about the way I crisscross this in the front. And then I'm going to tuck this one underneath and pull it straight back and then pull over. And then I'm just going to make a knot. And that's all there is to it. And based on how far apart the little dowels are in the holder, that's how big your bow is going to be. So I'm going to pull it kind of taut and then just slide it off. And there's my bow. When I did my final tug to tighten the knot, you'll see I pulled straight across this way. If I wanted tails that hang down, then I would pull in that direction. I would pull down at the final tug, because that tells the ribbon the direction you want it to have its tail go. And of course, when you buy one, I send you written directions in the form of a PDF as well as a video tutorial on YouTube. Then I'm just going to kind of estimate how long this ribbon needs to be, because you'll notice I didn't cut it off of the roll until I was ready. That ensures that I don't use too much. Then I'm going to put some tear and tape. You could also use glue dots, but since I'm going to use tear and tape to adhere it to the front of the box anyway, no harm in just doing it this way. It also lets me move it around a little bit if I didn't get it quite straight. I have fingernails, so this is working okay for me, but the take your pick tool, the pointy end, works great for removing the back of those. Okay, I wanted my bow on this side. So I'm just folding it over to the back, pulling it all the way across and folding it over again, making it stick to that tear and tape. Then I'm going to take a look and I'm going to go, okay, this side's a little too high. So I can come down a little. Maybe I'd even line it on the grid paper and determine how many little squares over it is. And then when I'm happy with where I've got my ribbon going across, then we're ready to stick it to the box. And there you go. There is our finished box in Lost Lagoon and again in Balmy Blue. So thank you for joining me, and I will have another video go live on Monday at 2:30 while I'm in Hawaii. Thanks. Bye.